The Iron Resolve. The UES Thunderchild cut through the void like a knife, its massive silhouette blotting out distant stars. At 2 kilometers long, the Titan-class warship represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a mobile fortress equipped with enough firepower to reduce a small moon to rubble. On the command bridge, Captain Morgan Chen stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. "Status report," he commanded, voice steady despite the tension hanging in the air. Lieutenant Commander Eliza Santos, his XO for the past 7 years, approached with a data tablet. "All systems optimal, Captain. We've reached the edge of the Arcturus sector as ordered. Long-range scanners are picking up unusual energy signatures just beyond the Haze Veil Nebula." Morgan nodded, his dark eyes narrowing as he studied the main view screen. The year was 2487, and humanity had expanded throughout their corner of the Milky Way with remarkable speed since achieving faster-than-light travel a century earlier. Their rapid technological advancement had left many of the older spacefaring species uneasy, especially after humans had emerged victorious from the brief but brutal Centauri conflict 30 years prior. "Those energy signatures match nothing in our database," remarked Chief Science Officer Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, his fingers dancing across his console. "If I didn't know better, I'd say we're looking at artificial quantum fluctuations on a scale I've never seen before." The bridge crew exchanged glances. The Thunderchild had been dispatched to investigate reports of missing colony ships in this region, vessels that had simply vanished without distress calls or debris fields. Now they might have found their answer. "Tactical alert," Morgan ordered, straightening his uniform. "Shields at maximum. Weapon systems on standby. Let's approach cautiously." As the massive warship edged forward, the nebula's swirling gases parted, revealing something that made even the veteran crew members catch their breath. A massive structure hung in space, not a ship or a station, but something that defied easy classification. It appeared to be a ring-shaped device at least 10 kilometers in diameter, pulsing with energy that bent the very light around it. "Captain," Santos said, her voice uncharacteristically tense, "we're being scanned." Before Morgan could respond, the ring flared with blinding intensity. When the light faded, they found themselves surrounded by vessels of distinctly alien design, sleek, organic-looking craft with no visible propulsion systems. "Multiple contacts," barked Tactical Officer Ramirez. 20. No, 35 vessels. Configuration unknown. Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened. "Captain, I don't think they came from the ring. I think the ring brought them here, from somewhere else." The main view screen flickered, and the image of a being appeared. It was humanoid, but with translucent bluish skin that revealed complex internal structures. Its eyes were compound, like an insect's, and its voice when it spoke was melodious yet somehow wrong, as though several voices were speaking simultaneously. "Terran vessel," it said in perfect English, "you have trespassed into Saraxi Dominion space. Your species has been assessed and found to be a Category 5 threat to galactic stability. Your expansion ends here." Morgan stepped forward. "This is Captain Morgan Chen of the United Earth ship Thunderchild. We claim no knowledge of your dominion or any territorial boundary. We are here investigating the disappearance of our vessels. If we have trespassed, we apologize and are willing to withdraw after recovering any survivors." The alien's compound eyes glittered. "There are no survivors. Your vessels were studied, their occupants examined. Their genetic material has been added to our library. You will now submit to the same process." The transmission cut abruptly, and the alien vessels began to move into attack formation. "So much for diplomacy," Morgan muttered. "Battle stations. All hands prepare for combat." The Thunderchild's massive weapon systems came online as the crew raced to their positions. Despite being outnumbered, Morgan knew the Titan-class warship was built to handle seemingly impossible odds. It had been designed with the lessons of the Centauri conflict in mind, incorporating technologies that had been theoretical just decades earlier. The first volley from the alien vessels struck the Thunderchild's shields with surprising force, causing the massive warship to shudder. Shields holding at 87%, reported Ramirez. Their weapons are using some kind of quantum disruption technology. Each hit is causing micro-fluctuations in our shield harmonics. Morgan gripped the railing. Return fire. Target their lead vessels. Deploy Sentinel drones to intercept their smaller craft. The Thunderchild's main cannons roared to life, sending lances of superheated plasma toward the enemy fleet. 3 of the alien vessels were hit directly, their hulls buckling under the assault before exploding in brilliant flashes. But the Exaraxi were numerous and relentless. They swarmed around the human warship like angry hornets, each strike weakening the shields further. Shields at 42% and falling, Santos reported grimly. At this rate, we'll have hull breaches within minutes. Morgan studied the tactical display, his mind racing through options. The Thunderchild was designed to fight, but it was also designed to survive. Initiate Protocol Hydra, he ordered suddenly. Santos looked up sharply. Captain, that's never been field-tested. No time like the present, XO, Morgan replied with grim determination. Execute now. Throughout the massive warship, hidden compartments slid open, revealing secondary shield generators and weapon systems that had been kept offline. The very hull of the vessel seemed to shift, armor plates rearranging themselves into a more defensive configuration. What the hell? Muttered Dr. Tanaka as he watched his displays. The ship is adapting. Protocol Hydra was humanity's ace in the hole, a semi-sentient defense system that could analyze enemy attack patterns and reconfigure the ship's systems in real time to counter them. As the system came fully online, the Thunderchild's energy signature changed dramatically. The aliens are pausing their attack, Ramirez reported. I think we've confused them. Morgan allowed himself a tight smile. Now, while they're regrouping, target their command vessel with the Helios array. The front section of the Thunderchild split open, revealing a massive energy weapon that had been hidden within the ship's superstructure. It charged with a high-pitched whine that reverberated through the entire vessel. Helios array at 100%, Captain, Santos confirmed. Fire. A beam of concentrated energy, not plasma, not laser, but something more fundamental that distorted space itself, lanced out from the Thunderchild. It struck the largest Exaraxi vessel, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the alien ship simply came apart, not in an explosion, but in a silent, almost elegant disintegration, as though the very atomic bonds holding it together had decided to let go. The remaining Exaraxi vessels broke formation, scattering in apparent confusion. They're retreating toward the ring structure, Ramirez reported. Morgan nodded, his face grim. Target the ring. Full spread of quantum torpedoes. The Thunderchild launched a barrage of sleek, silver projectiles that streaked toward the massive alien structure. When they detonated, the explosions seemed to fold in on themselves before expanding outward in pulses of distorted spacetime. The ring structure shuddered, then began to break apart. As the last of the Exaraxi vessels vanished through the destabilizing ring, a final transmission came through. This is not the end. Humans, the alien voice declared, you have merely delayed the inevitable. The Dominion spans galaxies. We will return. The ring collapsed in on itself with a final flash of energy, leaving only debris drifting in the silent void. Morgan exhaled slowly, surveying the damage reports flooding his displays. The Thunderchild had survived, though not unscathed. More importantly, they had faced an unknown enemy with vastly superior numbers and prevailed, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Secure from battle stations, he ordered. Begin repairs and prepare a complete report for Fleet Command. They need to know what we're facing. As the crew carried out his orders, Morgan stared at the floating debris where the alien ring had been. Humanity had just encountered something beyond their experience, a threat that spanned galaxies according to the Exaraxi, but they had stood their ground and won the first round. That was what humans did. They survived. They adapted. And when pushed to the wall, they fought back with an intensity that shocked their enemies. The battle was over, but Morgan knew with certainty that the war had just begun. Forged in fire. 6 months after the Thunderchild's fateful encounter, humanity stood on a knife's edge. The news of the Taraxi threat had galvanized Earth's governments into unprecedented unity. Shipyards throughout the solar system worked around the clock, producing more Titan-class warships and retrofitting existing vessels with the technologies that had saved the Thunderchild. Captain Morgan Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood in the observation deck of the orbital headquarters above Mars, watching as the newest Titan-class vessel, the UES Defiance, underwent its final systems check. Beside him stood Fleet Admiral Yasmin Rivera, the highest-ranking officer in the United Earth Space Force. "Impressive, isn't she?" Rivera remarked, nodding toward the massive warship. 17 more just like her will be operational within the month. We've incorporated everything we learned from your encounter. Morgan nodded, but his expression remained troubled. It won't be enough if the Exaraxi return in force. We need allies. That's why you're here, Rivera replied, turning to face him. Intelligence has made contact with something calling itself the Galactic Concordat, a loose alliance of species that have apparently been monitoring the Taraxi for centuries. They've requested a meeting with the human who defeated a Dominion scouting force. Morgan raised an eyebrow. Scouting force? Those were just scouts. Rivera's expression was grim. According to our new potential friends, yes, which is why this meeting is crucial. 2 days later, Morgan found himself aboard the UES Diplomatic, a specialized vessel designed for first contact scenarios. They had traveled to a remote star system at the edge of human space, where representatives of the Concordat had agreed to meet. As Morgan entered the ship's conference room, he was struck by the diversity of the alien delegates. 7 different species were represented, each more unusual than the last. Some appeared vaguely humanoid, while others defied easy classification. One seemed to be composed entirely of crystalline structures, while another floated in a containment field filled with swirling gases. Admiral Chen greeted a tall, slender being with iridescent scales and 4 arms. "I am Ambassador Threll of the Vex Confederacy, speaking on behalf of the Concordat. We have observed your species with great interest, particularly since your encounter with the Dominion." Morgan bowed slightly. "On behalf of humanity, I thank you for this meeting. We seek to understand this threat and find common ground with peaceful civilizations." A ripple of movement passed through the assembled aliens, their equivalent of murmured conversation, Morgan supposed. "Common ground," echoed a small, rodent-like being with enormous eyes. An interesting choice of words. Your species has expanded more rapidly than any we have encountered in 50,000 cycles. Your technology evolves at a pace that many find concerning. "What Ambassador Mick means," the crystalline entity interjected, its voice resonating through the room, "is that some members of the Concordat view humans as potentially becoming like the Exaraxi, conquerors who expand without regard for others." Morgan felt a flash of indignation. "With respect, we have never initiated conflict with another species. The Centauri aggression was not of our making, and we sought peace before resorting to force. Yet your response was overwhelming," noted Threll. "And now your people build warships of unprecedented power." "We build them because we must," Morgan replied firmly. The Exaraxi made their intentions clear. They see us as a threat to be eliminated, should we not defend ourselves. The gaseous entity pulsed brightly. "The question is not whether you should defend yourselves, but whether others should fear what happens if you succeed. The Dominion has conquered 12 galaxies over millions of years. Those who defeat such an enemy often become what they fought against." Morgan considered this. "Then help us ensure that doesn't happen. Share your knowledge of the Taraxi. Join with us in mutual defense. Together, we can stand against them without becoming them." The negotiations lasted for days, with progress measured in small increments. The Concordat species were cautious, many having existed in a state of hidden resistance against the Ataraxi for generations. They feared open conflict, but feared human unpredictability perhaps even more. On the fifth day, the discussions were interrupted by an urgent communication from Earth. Rivera's face appeared on the screen, her expression grave. "Admiral Chen, they've returned. A Xaraxi fleet has emerged in the Ta City system. Over 200 vessels, including something massive, at least 20 kilometers long. They've already destroyed the outer colonies. Our forces are engaging." But she hesitated. "It's not looking good." Morgan turned to the alien delegates who had fallen silent. "This is no longer a theoretical discussion. The enemy is here. Now we must all decide where we stand." The atmosphere in the room had changed. Fear was palpable, but so was something else, a reluctant acknowledgement that humanity's aggressive preparation might have been justified. Threll stepped forward. "The Concordat cannot officially sanction military alliance at this time." Before Morgan could protest, the four-armed alien raised a hand. "However, individual member species may choose their own course. The Vex Confederacy stands with humanity." One by one, other delegates joined Threll, until only two remained apart, the crystalline entity and the gaseous being. "We cannot risk open confrontation," the crystalline entity stated, "but we will share our technical knowledge of Ataraxi vulnerabilities. Use it wisely." It was enough. Within hours, Morgan was back aboard the Thunderchild, leading a fleet of 30 Titan-class warships toward Ta City, accompanied by vessels from 3 alien civilizations. The combined force was impressive, but intelligence suggested they would still be outnumbered. As they dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Ta City system, the scope of the situation became clear. The human defense fleet was in tatters, with only a handful of ships still fighting. The massive Xaraxi vessel, a dreadnought unlike anything they had seen before, was moving inexorably toward Earth's colony world, New Eden. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Morgan ordered. "Vex allies on our flanks, Meridian vessels in support positions. Target the smaller Xaraxi ships first. Clear a path to that dreadnought." The battle that followed would later be known as the Crucible of Ta City. Human Titan-class warships, each a masterpiece of engineering and firepower, fought alongside their alien allies with coordinated precision. The Xaraxi, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies through sheer numbers, found themselves facing an opponent that could match their tactical flexibility. The Thunderchild led the charge, its adaptive systems incorporating the Xaraxi vulnerability data provided by the Concordat. Each volley from its weapons was more effective than the last, as the ship's semi-sentient systems learned and adapted in real time. But the Xaraxi dreadnought was a monster of a different order. It absorbed incredible punishment, its shields seemingly impenetrable. As they closed distance, it unleashed weapons that twisted reality itself, causing 3 human warships to implode. "We need to get closer," Morgan decided, studying the tactical display. "There's a pattern to their shield modulation, a 3-second vulnerability every 78 seconds. Santos, who had insisted on remaining his XO despite his promotion, looked skeptical. "Sir, even if we time it perfectly, we'd need to be practically on top of them to deliver enough firepower in that window." "Then that's where we'll be," Morgan replied grimly. "Inform the Vex vessels of the plan. We'll need their precision weapons to synchronize with ours." What followed was a maneuver that would be studied in military academies for generations. The Thunderchild and 3 Vex cruisers executed a series of micro-jumps, appearing at different points around the dreadnought, firing precisely calibrated volleys, then jumping away before the Xaraxi could lock weapons. Each attack exploited the momentary shield vulnerability, gradually weakening the massive vessel. "One more pass," Morgan ordered, his uniform soaked with sweat as the bridge sparked and smoked around him. The Thunderchild had taken heavy damage, but its core systems remained operational. For the final assault, All 4 Allied vessels coordinated their attack on a single point, a section of the dreadnought where their sensors indicated the main power core would be located. As the Exaraxi shields flickered in their regular pattern, the combined firepower of the Allies struck home. The effect was catastrophic. The dreadnought shuddered, then began to break apart from within as chain reactions tore through its massive structure. The remaining Exaraxi vessels, suddenly without central command, fell into disarray. All ships pressed the advantage, Morgan commanded. Don't let them regroup. The combined human and alien fleet surged forward, systematically eliminating the confused enemy vessels. Within hours, it was over. The Exaraxi invasion force had been destroyed, though at significant cost. Nearly a third of the human ships were lost, along with many of their alien allies. As the Thunderchild limped back toward New Eden, Morgan received a transmission from Earth. It was the United Earth Council, the ruling body of humanity's interstellar territories. Admiral Chen, the council speaker, began. You have not only saved our colony, but potentially all of humanity. More importantly, you've proven that we can work alongside other species against a common threat. The alien representatives who fought with you have requested permanent diplomatic ties with Earth. It seems you've laid the groundwork for something unprecedented, a true interstellar alliance. Morgan looked around the damaged bridge of his faithful ship, at the human crew who had fought alongside alien allies against impossible odds and prevailed. This, he realized, was humanity's true strength, not just their warships or technology, but their ability to adapt, to forge connections, to inspire others to stand with them against the darkness. We'll need to build more than warships now, he replied. The Exaraxi will return, perhaps in even greater numbers. But they'll find us stronger, not just in arms, but in friendship. As the battered fleet approached New Eden, they were met by cheering crowds. News of the victory had spread, and for the first time, humans stood side by side with aliens, united in celebration rather than fear. The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had proven itself not just as a species to be feared, but one to be respected, perhaps even followed. Their Titan-class warships had brought the Exaraxi to their knees, but it was humanity's spirit that had truly won the day. And somewhere, across the vast gulfs between galaxies, the Exaraxi Dominion took notice. The primitive species they had dismissed as an irritation had become something far more dangerous, a rallying point for resistance. The war was far from over, but its nature had fundamentally changed. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the stars themselves seemed to tremble. Retry.